list the domain and the range. So we need to be able to find the domain and the range of the following graph. Now remember that your domain are your x values and your range are your y values. So let's go and start with your domain. So what are the appropriate x values for this graph? So if you're working on the x-axis, at what point do you start seeing a graph? You start seeing a graph at -3. So from -3, it's including the -3, so therefore we're going to place a bracket. If it was open, then it will be a parenthesis. But in this case, it's closed, so therefore it gets a bracket. Comma, and at what point do I stop seeing a graph? Remember, there's an arrow in here, so therefore the graph continues beyond this arrow to infinity. Positive infinity, or we can just place infinity. Infinity always gets a parenthesis. -3 to infinity, so it's not A, B, or C. Now your range. Your range are your y values, and we always go from the smallest value to the biggest number, to the biggest value. So if you're working on the y-axis, at what point do you start seeing a graph? You start seeing a graph at -1. Now where it crosses the y-axis is at what point do you start seeing a graph? You start seeing a graph at -1. And even though it appears that it just goes beyond, it goes further up. So it'll be to positive infinity. Parenthesis is including the -1, so therefore it gets a bracket. Now remember that even though it seems that it stops right here, even if you go to 5, the graph will be way over here, but there'll still be a graph. Even if you go up 100, the graph will continue increasing slowly, but will still be there. So therefore, it will be infinity as well. So therefore, your answer is letter E.